Morning, good afternoon, good evening. I can say that to you because I know that the audience is quite global. Like the Scalar presenters today, my colleague Peter from the US and myself, I'm joining you from Germany. We're presenting today's webinar, and thank you very much for your attention. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we will be presenting to you some of our thoughts around scalability for BPO in document processing. So we will be drawing upon our own experience, showing some real life examples, as well as showing up some solutions to known challenges or maybe unknown challenges. So hopefully we are can expect from you some questions, and that's what we're hoping for. So on all platforms that you are joining us from, some of our colleagues are on live, and we will have a Q&A session at the end as well. So we hope that we get some comments from you on what we're presenting. Are you agreeing with the challenges? What do you think about the solution, and any other topics you would like to share with us? So the more interactive, the better. As that's what at least we would be expecting from you, hoping from you. But let's go into the topic. So we're talking about scalability in for BPOs, so service providers, and making it seamless and in the whole context of document processing. And I would start with a very difficult slide for you, just to really, really go straight into it. So this is my difficult slide. So do you recognize these situations if you are a BPO or somebody who's helping a BPO? Well, these are for me who can't draw, probably the way I would represent really the daily challenges when I used to run big BPO operations. If you look at the left, the top one, the yellow one, depending if you can see the colors like I do, so yellow and the squiggly one, this really represents the most common challenge posed for scalability for BPO. So BPOs are often being asked to help a customer when there are peaks, predictable, unpredictable peaks. So it could be end of the month, end of the week, end of the year. It could also be unpredictable things such as maybe insurance claims or the response rates on a new service being launched. So, but overall, it is not uncommon for peaks and troughs to be there. And of course, if you look at that alone, there are challenges there. How do you scale and still being productive, meet your SLAs, and of course, make your bottom line? But it doesn't have to be just peaks and troughs. But if you look at the blue arrow going up there, that's another challenge or more of a positive challenge. So market opportunity arises. The sales have done it again and sold a project which has wonderful new volumes coming in. There is a new service being launched by one of your existing customers, or there is a big tender coming out, but the challenge remains the same. So what happens if there is suddenly a big volume increase coming in, and how to meet that and how to scale effectively with meeting all the deadlines that are coming in with that. And if it comes to the worst of that kind, where the pressures are really high, it's the red one. So these are the kind of one-time big projects which can come along very quickly, get up and running, have a defined period of producing, and then it rapidly just goes down to back to zero. So scaling up, scaling down in almost an instant, and holding really quite high resources available for such a project. So this is the kind of scalability issues that BPOs are experiencing one way or another, either through negative experiences of peaks and troughs or more positive ones of new business. And the challenges are often met with a triangle, and this triangle is this one. So what do BPO go to when they look at solving that? Looking at staffing solutions, technology solutions like automation, and of course, overall the agility of the operations. And this is really what we want to dive into today, to go a little bit deeper into that, looking at causes, effects, but also then solutions to actually meet those challenges and think about it a little bit differently with all the possibilities that are coming out of the collective intelligence approach that's out there nowadays. So when I look at this scalability challenges, and Peter is going to dive down later a little bit into each of them. When I look at resource constraints, the triangle comes back into my mind, but with three different words: staff, technology, and money. So this is really limitations on resources. Staff, enough skills, technology in a sense of scaling up and down and making it possible to scale the infrastructure, have the systems scale software-wise, have the automation scale, and the money, of course, to make those investments. So these kind of challenges really are common to BPO when they scale and try to meet their demands. When it comes to technology, what we see in our experiences and what our BPO partners and customers share with us is that very often the systems are outdated in a way that automation rates may not be as high as they would like it to be. They cannot add technology easily to it or increase the infrastructure in the sense that it meets new demands on the scale. So overall technology limitations are quite one area that really holding back BPO. Very often, technology limitations are coming down to money, though, that they are not affordable. I mean, we all know that with AI nowadays, the capabilities out there are increasing on a daily basis and become more meaningful, I guess, to document processing, but the costs compared to traditional processing are sometimes prohibiting its use. And especially if you have a project where you have a low volume or you have a project which is one time, very often the ROI may not be there. So technology can be limiting in many different ways. And if you have technology limitations, that's one of your process bottlenecks. So process bottlenecks, of course, can be many. It can be insufficient workflows. It can be, of course, your automation rates not being high enough and overall your agility lacking. The other area that we hear more and more about, and this really depends, of course, where you are in the world, are workforce issues. So some countries like Germany, I had a discussion last week, and the customer said to me, the next generation of data entry clerks doesn't exist. So here we have that issue that there's no resource at all available anymore to bring into the workforce to train up. But even if you get the right resources, it's the training cycle, it's the training cost, it's the fluctuation that can cause issues. And if you have special projects, the scaling it down up in the sense of having the right workforce, having the right skills to meet that challenge, it can be quite a challenge itself. So overall of that, it's impacting efficiency. If you don't scale in the right way, if you can't meet those challenges, you will have less productivity, you may have lower quality, you don't meet your SLAs, and certainly you don't meet your bottom line. And Peter's going to look into some of those challenges in with more of a data background and looking at what the world is saying about those challenges existing.
Yeah, thanks, Susanna. And I just want to dive into these a little bit more from some surveys and industry knowledge from both Deloitte and the Shared Service Outsourcing Network. We have some of these reports. So with the resource side of it, if you're looking to scale up, it's just not that easy these days, and everybody faces these challenges. The labor market is tight, the cost pressures are high, and so these HR topics are driving and impacting BPOs and global business services footprints around the world. But if you look at this chart, what sticks out to me and sort of the changes, of course, cost and turnover and all these things are common year over year. But this 48% for career progression and opportunities, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it kind of highlights the changes that are happening in the market and the labor market, and how either technology or the work that we do can be a supportive factor for thinking about data entry as an entry level, and how do you give a progressive plan to potential employees that you're trying to bring on. And so it's a really good thing that Deloitte is mentioning here, and something that we think about as we're looking at talent. So then this goes to the Shared Service Outsourcing Network survey, and they are talking about what efforts can be made to attract this talent given these new dynamics. And so the employee value proposition, that is number one, which I think is super interesting, because you have to put together a mix then of different areas that could bring interest for an employee, and the how you work, the what you get when you work here, and what is the advancement track as a full package for the future of these employees moving forward. And so employers, from the scalability side, have to recognize the market shift and the demand, and they need to focus on competitive compensation packages, opportunities for career advancement, and a positive work environment. And you see things on here like ESG, those kinds of topics are becoming more and more interesting to potential employees. So these are the efforts they're making that we can loop in what we're talking about with the scalability and our collective intelligence mindset. So of course, all of this includes the cost to train and bring on employees, but these are ongoing costs. So you see here $500 to $750 per year for employees, and so this is another constraint, right? You have to think about that um, and budget for that per employee. And this could be just existing employees. Think about bringing on new employees and the amount of resources allocation required for training. This is retraining or upskilling, that sort of thing. And so that can reduce the ability to scale quickly and also dig into your revenue streams as you're thinking about it. And so this could impact the revenue or the margins, I guess, rather to say. And Deloitte is focusing on this as an area to think about. So next we get into sort of the tech limitations and bottlenecks. And with this particular study from SSON, we're all talking about AI right now. Everybody is, and automation still is not living up to its full promises. There's still a lot of work to do, let's say. So there's much more gains to be had. So the maturity model allows for more growth in this and how we can achieve scalability and integrating this into expert level. So only about 20% consider their overall automation to be at high or expert level. So that gives us room as a group on this call to think about and how to scale sort of the abilities for automation. Now, if you think about savings, SSON and Deloitte, they are agreeing on this, and that 1/4 of the respondents consider themselves at a mature stage. So again, there's significant opportunities that are yet untapped in areas that we can focus on. And as you see, the savings are going up from 2023 to 2021, but it is something where we can have much more scalability, and what we're going to talk about related to collective intelligence can apply those savings. And this one I think is really interesting because we've all seen this in our anecdotal conversations with customers or within our own organizations. And when you're implementing automation, the agility to do the work you need to do can be elusive. And so, the complexity and the technical aspects of doing it and the communication between different groups doing automations and how it works, this is what you would wish you had known before. Having siloed automations or the complexity to actually achieve a good level of automation, our customers and our prospects are saying the same thing. And how do you deploy something that is meaningful quickly and is understandable using change management that is cohesive to actually make this a reality? And so it just underscores sort of the difficulty in doing this, and having the ability to scale automations and bring them in to reduce costs and create more efficiency is really the focus that we all need to think about. So again, agility can be elusive, and how have organizations added agility and resilience to their business models? The things that we've all seen since the COVID timeframe have been, the work from home capabilities and the ability to accelerate the work and provide flexibility. So this ties back into the resource allocation and getting people or onboarding folks that are capable and are skilled, but yet have the ability to be resilient to the changes that are coming your way is really an important part of what we offer and how we think about it as far as scaling. Diversifying the locations, giving them easy access to the technology, and making sure that they feel comfortable, the resources as well as your side of it, to achieve these results, to be resilient. So if you look at this holistically, the scalability challenge can be tied together, and it overall it can impact your revenue and profitability of your organization. So you have to scale operations quickly. You have to, like Susanna had on the first slide, handle increased volumes or peaks and troughs of volumes that are happening within your organizations for document processing, and then mix into that the staffing challenges, where there's limited time, where you need to do it quickly, that it's all interconnected. So the revenue is in the center of all of this, and we've all been there, right? You have what Susanna showed, where you have to staff, maybe do overtime for a particular project. Sales brings in a new one and they say, we need it now. Well, okay, the reality hits. You have to train people, you have to staff it. And so that can be, a quick draw to bring it up and to make it happen. And then if you think about on the other side of it, the customer experience, the time to value to do it, you want to deploy it quickly. So the longer you wait, the less time you have, or the quicker you want to get to revenue. And then you're losing money in that way. You have pressures with turnaround times, with the data quality, and then the SLAs, and maybe there's penalties for the SLAs. So that goes into your thought process with revenue impact. And then overall, these new concepts of more employee morale, well, maybe not new, but maybe more focused on employee morale, plays a role in this as well. Because if you have employees that aren't, focused and fully enjoying their work, then that can impact the revenue as well. And then delays with onboarding, that, as I mentioned before, that could lead to less revenue because you're waiting for the actual billing. So the whole focus here is agility and scaling, and hence our name ScaleHub. And how is this achievable? How can we address all of those different areas for scaling, of resource allocation, of technology, of automation, of giving the ability to be flexible? And we have a quote here from one of our customers, Deutsche Post, and essentially they are using our managed service in a way to remain agile in operations and to scale. So they're calling it either staff augmentation or an extension of who they are. And it gives them the flexibility to extend and expand their capacity for day over day, month over month, year over year. And it's in a digital, approach that is, as a managed service, easy to add on as an extension. So here's a real world example. And this is one of our customers that's doing prescription processing. What does scalability really look like? How do you manage this? So this is a full year of volumes. And what you see from this screenshot is we're processing millions of fields annually. And we have instant scalability. They don't need to give us warning about when volumes increase. So some days we have 0, and the next day we have 750,000 in volume. And so this is the power of using the distributed and scaled model that we have as a managed service, is to give our customers the ability to use, in quotes, as an outlet valve, to say, look, I don't have the staffing, I don't have the ability to upskill and downskill and to deal with fluctuating volumes. Please take this and give me the quality and the accuracy and the turnaround times that I have under my SLAs. So I have a real world case study. This is a US based customer of ours. And it ties in nicely to the previous slide, in that, they had volumes that were fluctuating, and they had a process that they're always looking, this customer is always looking for cutting edge of the next generations of services. So they're very progressive in that sense. And I'm not going to go through this whole slide as far as all the words. I can absolutely share this later, and it will be in part of the recording. But the idea for them was to speed up the time between scanning and indexing of these delivery tickets. A lot of handwriting on this, so they were doing this all manually. They had a backlog, and they had a lot of different things they needed to do quickly. And so reducing the human touch, having them move to higher value work was a big part of what they were doing, so that then they could focus on different aspects of this engagement. Their folks, in fact, were trained within like a few days, 3 days. The deployment itself took less than 2 weeks from signature to actual deployment of this. And the idea here is that the technology absorbed and took it on, and basically created, efficiencies and automations to scale to, the 1 million level very quickly. So, just as a full summary here of this case study, again, the 2 week up and running was a big deal here. The manual processing that they were doing was reduced by 96%, and the clients and the business possibilities now are very, very important and easy for them to accomplish. And basically, when they're looking at jobs going forward, they're going to have this managed service be for any solutions like this, because it works very well for the handwriting in particular and the volumes.
Then I'm going to take over again, and I think by now you're probably intrigued about the possibility of a solution, but maybe also confused. What is it that we are talking about here? So let me just talk a little bit about what it is that collective intelligence is providing, and then how the ScaleHub is doing it, and how that helps with scalability. So collective intelligence, if you look at the definition of it, it's about the combination of artificial and human intelligence in a way that both combined are doing things smarter than one or the other alone. And this really fits it exceptionally well than what ScaleHub is doing. So ScaleHub is coming from the technology side originally. So we've been helping organizations for many, many years to automate processes. But the whole area of automation is not 100%. Sometimes it doesn't fit. What do I do if I have a certain case that I have technology for? And the whole human aspect became stronger and stronger in the voices that we heard from the customers. So we have been providing since 2016, a managed service, as Peter already said, especially for service providers. So we're not competing, we're not replacing BPO. The extended workbench should take the pains away. So the pains that we showed before is what we like. And what does that mean? So we are actually combining this in a managed service. So we have a solution and access to our own AI, partner AI, but also to human intelligence in the form of crowdsourcing. We have the ability to scale very, very quickly and have really nearly unlimited scalability. So on average, we have around 30,000 people working across the globe on different projects for us, for our partners and customers, and we can scale up. So we have been doing our own benchmarking. We can activate 1,000 skilled workers for a specific job within 10 minutes. So they come and it goes, and we are there like an extended workbench and a service that behaves like a technology, I always say, because we can really cover those gaps when they occur. So we cover those gaps, so we don't replace necessarily the way that our BPO partners are doing it, but we would be coming in very often to fill the automation gaps. So we have very intelligent interfaces that actually communicate with existing systems, so we know what the gaps are, and we actually cover that, and we provide back the results with a data guarantee and with a time guarantee. So it's really a kind of use as needed with the guarantees behind it, and scales as it should do. And one very important part that we have not really touched upon yet so much on in the scalability aspect is the whole aspect of data protection and compliance. Because we talked earlier about, or you saw one graph from Peter talking about looking at more, I think, distributed talent. Very often that is not possible, or the working from home, that's very often is not possible for our BPO partners, because the data protection and the compliance aspect that they need to adhere to and the customers are expecting from them would not allow that. And again, we've done our homework. So in the way we're approaching it, and in the way we need to approach it, even with this highly scalable approach, means that we found a very highly compliant and data protection relevant way of even being able to process the most sensitive data with this. So you saw prescriptions, there are your patients data on that. We talk about personal data in many different industry sectors that this is possible for to actually take an aspect into the AI world. That always means cloud if you want to do it properly, as well as in this crowdsourcing aspect, which means global talent. But doing that in a way that still being able to be comply and being able to utilize the global aspects of it. What does that look like? So we're not going to go into all the depths of it, but I'm just going to highlight a few aspects of it. So we have on the starting point some very intelligent interfaces, as I said. So this is something that can be up and running very quickly. Peter gave the example of VRC, where the most time it always takes is the interface, most of the time, right? So we need to be sure that we can do this in a very quick way, in a very efficient way, but also in a non-intrusive way. So there are many options on getting the data to us. But then I guess the magic starts, and we are then processing that data with the help of AI combined with the crowdsourcing. And crowdsourcing could and will include also your own staff being in the loop and having a different kind of experience of handling data. And then, of course, providing the outcome back in the data that's being required, into format that's required, back into the system of our customers, and then beyond. And of course, all of that with full transparency of the volumes, the service quality, as well as the time it's going through. But if I go a little bit deeper into that, then I would like to highlight two areas here. So the one is that the whole area of making data, really preparing it for being handled by AI. So the whole aspect of triage, classification, separation of documents. If you're handling, for example, emails, you know the issue very well. There's a PDF coming in containing many, many documents, maybe of different use cases, different customers even. Needs to be classified, needs to be separated reliably. And AI can help a lot there, but it needs to be done in a very secure way. So we will not go into this into much detail because there will be a webinar about this very, very soon, but we have ways which are allowing this to happen. So we're using different techniques, and we're really using AI to its fullest, but also the crowd to its fullest, and data protection to its fullest, to ensure that we use like techniques like solidization to prepare the data, utilizing different crowds of different security level to prepare data before, I guess, a cloud AI is touching it or a global worker is touching it. So there's a lot of aspects in this, but what I want you to take away from that is that it is possible to use this concept for sensitive data and even for those aspects which in the past were not possible, like classification, like separation, and the triage aspect of it. Where it is well known and well established, and when those of you who have joined us before, you've heard about this a lot, and we are often called the snippet company, because when it comes to the whole aspect of extracting data, validating that extracting data, we also use different techniques. So we are using AI, of course, to its fullest to extract the relevant data, identifying it, locating it on structured, semi-structured, so structured documents like forms, semi-structured documents like invoice-related or invoice-like documents, or unstructured documents like correspondence or customer contracts. So the AI will be identifying it locally or in the cloud, depending on the use case. And then we have the crowd contributors actually validating that data, because we all know if it's handwritten, cursive handwritten, very, very poor pages that fonts or print or whatever it would be, those are the gaps we're talking about here. So the human in the loop will have to come in to ensure that that 99 point whatever percent of quality is being hit. And this is what we're doing. So we have this combination of AI, HI, workers, if you want to call it that way, ensuring that at the end of the day, a service level has been met. And here we're using techniques to microtask and again to ensure data protection, such as snippeting. So if you see a document like this, of course, this is fake data, be sure. Then you know this kind of document should never reach the cloud. It should never reach even your offshore locations in many cases, depending on the origin and the customer sensitivity. What we do is, for example, one technique that we're using snippeting. So we're identifying and locating with different techniques the relevant data, and then we are presenting it in a completely out of context way to a human in the loop. So therefore, this person will never be able to make any connection to the original document, will not have a context in any way of where this data is coming from, and therefore data protection will be adhered to. This generally is the concept and how we're doing it. So it's a matter of having a real-time agility with instant access to the technology as well as the people in the loop. So a managed service that provides an instant scale and being able to have it done in a very secure way, and having access to technology within that may need your particular gap in your process or need for your new project at any one time. And it's all with different certifications behind it, so that the compliancy, whether it's in the US, whether you have healthcare related like HIPAA compliancy, GDPR here in the European room, and all the new ones also appearing in the Middle East at the moment. This concept we are appearing is a service that can be easily add on to you without you worrying that you are violating the compliancy you secured to your customers, while at the same time as a BPO scale would be achieved. So the efficiency can be increased, and you will have the ability to ensure you meet your service levels, you increase your bottom line, your own staff is kept motivated, and you can actually provide them the capability to work on those more value added tasks, which most often means for them also higher job satisfaction, while knowing there's an extended workbench out there. There's your business continuity partner, if you want to call us that, that actually can bring in that AI, that HI, as you need it and when you need it, without the big up and down scaling efforts that normally would be required. And this really concludes what we want to talk to you about today. But I hope that we will have some questions, Peter, that we can really go into depth of one or two of those points we raised.
Yeah, thanks, Susanna. We do have a few questions I'm seeing in the chat area here. So one was, our we talk about ScaleHub. It said, is ScaleHub a BPO? Is one question. Is that what you are?
No, exactly. That's what we are not. So we are considering as a partner of BPO. So we're never doing an end to end. We are really coming in with a point to actually tackle those scaling issues. So no, we do not appear and are not a BPO. We are an extended workbench and partner to service providers of all kinds out there.
Yeah, it's a question we get, and I think it's a really important one to clarify. And the extended workbench is a good way to put it. And also, I mean, even the use case I gave, that is a BPO, and we are helping them with essentially the scaling topic that we're talking about, because of a lot of the resource topics and everything that we went through to give them, ease of entry and ease of use. Another one I have here, let me look at this one again. If on some days you don't use ScaleHub service at all, I guess like we showed in that one slide with the ups and downs, how is it priced? Is it pay as you go, or subscription? How does it work?
Do you want to take that, or I can?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so it's a good question. So yeah, on the days you wouldn't use it in that one example, you're paying on a transaction-based approach. And so it gives you that flexibility as well. So I had the slide up earlier with revenue, and how do you plan? How do you have a consistent commercial model, let's call it, for your business case? And say it's rapid, as we've given the examples of sales comes in and says, hey, we've got this one. What is our business case going to work? And you have to build it. You have to get the resources. You have to get the, what automation aspects or technology are you going to weave into it? Then that's an easy one to answer. Is you say, well, we have this tool and it scales and it works quickly. We can use it when we need it. And so that would be how the pricing would work in that scenario. Let me see what else we have here. Is it fully cloud-based? Are there any on-premise options?
In order to ensure the data protection, compliancy that I mentioned, that we do have, I call it small gray boxes, very intuitively wizard-like, interface-like pieces that actually can do a lot of, or will do the things such as snippeting, the things such as standardization, actually within the firewall of our partners. And this is very important in certain sectors and as well as certain regions of the world. So, and it goes even further than that. We also have BPO partners that use other technology from us. We have a production platform. So we have a full integration into that. We can integrate, but with our wizard-like tool, into any production platform or system that our customers and partners are utilizing.
I think it's important to highlight too the Gen AI slide that you had, or the redaction slide that you showed quickly as a teaser, which would be, I think, a next topic for us. That would include aspects of a small client that would ensure behind any sort of security measures within an organization, within whoever's holding the documents, that only redacted, anonymized, decontextualized data is going to ever leave. And that's, for me in the US, it's very lucky because we're a European-based company, and GDPR aspects and the privacy is kind of the standard. And it holds weight here in the US, even though it's not required. But to say we're GDPR compliant, it's sort of the policies we have, the way that we approach it makes that aspect really, really crucial. So I think we had one more. Let me see what it was here. So we talked about, it says, combining AI with human work, how can you guarantee 99% data accuracy? Humans make a lot of errors. How do you guarantee that?
I guess it's the old-fashioned topic coming in of double verification, double entry at the end of the day. So whether that is with the aid of a technology as being a worker or not, that's probably different. But at the end of the day, that's what we do if we are guaranteeing quality. So there is going to be a result against a result comparison, and there is then a validation via supervisor kind roles and steps to ensure that the data coming out is being validated. And if it's not readable, it's not readable. At the end of the day, of course, we cannot guarantee 100% because there will be aspects where that we can't do. But if it is readable, then we will be sure that the result coming out has been validated in such a way.
Yeah, and I think that is important when I have discussions, is again sort of the confidence to know by, let's say, we have signed SLAs to the quality level of 99% in the turnaround time, and so we can ensure it based on the strategies that you just said. But having that assurance as you're doing the scaling of a new project or the uncertainty of a new project is just one less thing, right? So it's super helpful. Those are the questions I had. I don't see anything else in the channel. Yeah, this recording will be sent out, and we appreciate everybody joining today. And yeah, I think we might have a topic for next time, which would be the Gen AI, this little teaser you gave, Susanna. So look forward to that, and reach out with any questions. We're happy to help.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more, of course, in the win-win when we're actually working with BPO. So reach out. We are happy to dive deeper into any of the topics and explain to you how a partnership with us can work for you. And thank you very much for joining us today, and also to those who will be watching the recording later on. Thank you.